Why mystery method sucks for 2026 day game is not going to work. So, do you know that mystery method is really more of a night game strategy? It doesn't quite translate to day game as well as some people might think. And I'll tell you why, because it might sound out there, right? And we often hear that, oh, game is game, right? But today, I want to share with you three insights that just might change the way you look at this whole thing. I'm Johnny Elite, the world's best day game coach. I have 687 laid in po testimonials. Many of them are Americans too, in Western countries. And that's not easy. This is not some Latin country thing. And also for Canadians out there, you have a technical recession, negotiate with me, contact me. If you want some training, we can negotiate a price. And if the United States is in a recession, we can also have the same deal. I don't want you left out. But anyways, these are all real late and po testimonials for Daygame. More than every game global platform scamming network Daygame coach combined, including the so-called big names who often turn out to be scammers. And they're exposed in 2026 because they all use the mystery method bullshit. It doesn't work. It's complete fucking nonsense. So let's talk about it. What's the deal with the mystery method not working in 2026? Well, let's break it down. Looks are out of 10, money is out of 5, status is out of 10, social skills is out of 2.5 points, social calibration is out of 2.5 points, emotional control is out of 2.5 points, and game is out of 2.5 points. So if you were to level up your skills, including doing you don't do just using mystery method. But if you combine all these things together, then you will get laid for day game. That's right. 20 out of 35 is the magical formula that ABCs of attraction cannot get for their day game students. So that's why they do night game, which is 15 out of 35. For night game, there is not as much social skills and there's not much social skills and emotional control because it's a loud nightclub with down the fuck women. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to copy and paste this and I'm put this out here so people can see I have a live going. But the difference is that how can you have social skills when there's a loud nightclub? You can't even hear each other talk. And also for emotional control, how can you have emotional control with drunk women that are down the fucking loud nightclub? You can't. So that's only for day game, which requires more skills. That's why people are stuck with the mystery method because the night game stuff does not translate well to day game. Does that make sense? It doesn't translate well. So even if nobody's here right now, hopefully they do join later on. I have a lot to say about this topic. So that's just the thing I'm saying is that there's very little social skills. And the only thing that they have for night game is body language for social calibrations and some game, right? But there's no emotional control and there's no social skills. So 20 out of 35 gets you laid. Well, that's a tricky thing because the mystery method, how does it get debunked during this time? Why is the mystery method debunked and it doesn't work? It's very simple. It's almost like, and most people don't have the awareness of this because they're wondering why does Game Global not get people laid? They're wondering like why is it like that? It doesn't make any sense. They just know it's harder. But for my students it's easier because skills never ever expire. Skills do not expire. I'm on YouTube Live. Can you please join? Or give it a thumbs up if you can't. Thank you. So yeah, does that kind of make sense? Join my YouTube Live, comment on it, give it a thumbs up if you cannot. Thank you. It's gonna send it to some people, so we don't have like an empty. Um, well, this is the best I can do right now. I'll send it to more people later on. The stress comes from economic stress. So, what happened during economic stress and why are people stressed out? It's very simple, because with the mystery method or the misery method in their tactics, what happened was looks is out of 10. We all know that. Money out of 5. Status is out of 10. Social skills, 2.5 points. Social calibration is 2.5 points. Emotional control, it can be 2.5 points, but it can also be minus 2.5 points. You're like, what do you mean? That one category can actually go in the minus. So there's like a 5-point scale with emotional control. This one's huge because there's unlimited, like, well, it can go up and down. It can go minus 2.5. So we can almost imagine that everybody that is in massive debt, they turn MGTOW and they cannot focus. It is more likely than not that they are probably going to have minus 2.5 points, because if you have 5-figure debt, you probably are minus 2.5. And that's what creates the cortisol effect. You'll start losing your hair. I'm a little bit thinning right now. I have a new student that was a former ABCs of Attraction student that got 2 lays over here and 0 over there. And yeah, he's working on Elite 30 again and Elite Access. So ABCs of Attraction was formerly studied under mystery method. Mystery himself. That's why they're stuck for the Asian men, because they're using a method that during a bad economy, when it's minus 2.5 points, and they try to do that stuff out there, then it's not going to work. Does that make sense? The economy can screw things up really badly. So let me see. I'm going to change the title. Make sure. Okay, there's 2 people that joined. So if it's minus 2.5 points, right? Let's say, for example, your game was like decent, right? It was like 2 points, which I really doubt with Game Global. But let's say hypothetically, for some reason, right, that your game was actually like 2 points. Your looks are like out of like 6 or something. Your money is 0 because you dressed like an RSD victim, but that's still 6 points. Your race, let's say you're white, because minorities are below that, right? Asians could be 1 out of 10 in the Western countries. And also, if they're really foreign looking, not like K-pop, but if they're foreign looking, they're they're like 0 points. And Indians are like 2 points. But in Canada, Indians right now, as you can see, my student that's from India got laid. Not me, sorry. My Indian student, right? Who's like living in Canada. Yeah, that guy. So he was a Canadian. So that's the thing. He's gotten laid. So what I'm trying to say is that he lives in Canada for 5 years, goes to university there. But the thing is that for other people, for most, if you're in Canada, I would designate the points, right? It's no longer like 2 points for that, or whitewash Indian being like 4 out of 10. I would say that it's closer for Indians right now to be like in Canada to be like 0 points. The reason why is because sometimes current events can affect. That's all I'm saying. Current events can affect social standing. So if there are negative events, it can also affect social standing, which makes day game harder. But in any other country, United States, there is no negative standing or that negative standing. Europe, everywhere, still like for Indians, 2 out of 10, unless they're whitewashed, which are not. They have. But my point is this, okay? Like I said, I'm not trying to speak negatively here. I'm trying to show you about Indian love, not Indian hate. But what I'm trying to say is that I have a lot of Indian students. I respect Indians that are enlightened and that actually works hard and shows up for the homework. They get laid. I'm not talking about the 5'3" guys that has a triple chin that is losing all their hair and they don't do any homework assignments and they run away from approaching. But what I'm trying to say is that there's a sliding scale for race. Let's say your race was 10 out of 10. Your looks are 6, so 16 points. And your game was 2 points. You got 18 points, but you're not over the line. You have no social skills because you make statements all day, like mystery method and using techniques. You have no, you know, social calibrations. You hunch a little bit. Let's give you 1 point. That's 17 points. Okay. No, I mean, yeah, 16 points, 17 points. Let's say, for example, your emotional control is not good, right? Your game was 2 points, right? But if you're minus 2.5 points, right? 17 points is still like 15.5. You're like, what? That means you're nowhere near the line of fuckability because the mystery method game techniques are eradicated by your emotional control, which is affected by the tonality of the economy. So as soon as the tariff hits, and most people never talk about this for other dating coaches, they just don't get students laid. So they just pay for models to stand next to them for Game Global, or else they're in a passport bro country in like Indonesia or Thailand or something like that, and they take pictures of them next to women and stuff. These photo shoots for white dating coaches on Facebook. It's always the same shit. It's always like some passport bro country, or else other coaches have like status. I mean, they have like optics and stuff. But in reality, because your points are minus 2.5 points for your tonality, and it's affecting you, sound very stressed in your voice, then you probably will not get laid because that leaches points. So your whole 17 points becomes minus 2.5, which is 15.5. Does that make sense? So the mystery method in theory cannot work. It's not just theory. It's almost like the 20 out of 35 at this point for dating is almost like physics because night game for mystery method shit is 15 out of 35. It has less points because we're taking away the social skills because you cannot talk with social skills during a nightclub environment because it's super loud with down the fuck women that are drunk. Because they're drunk and stuff, they can't really communicate because they're just completely wasted. So that's why, and there's no emotional control. It's super loud nightclubs. It's not minus 2.5 there, but it's like 0. So therefore, it's only 15 out of 35 to get over the line. That's why ABCs of attraction in the past, not this year, but in the past, this year they just dry pull. They don't get laid. But in the past, they could still get laid in, North America. Now they can't. They just dry pull and then they have romantic connections, whatever that means, or some other shit. So that's what's happening. All right, still nobody here. It's not good, but we'll work with that. We'll work with that. Hopefully people start showing up later on. Because despite people showing up or not, I'm gonna have to let me see. I know it's a little bit late, right? But whatever. I just had the inspiration to speak. Are you ignoring all of my posts here? All right, let's continue. All right. As I was saying, you're looking at around 15 out of 35 for night game. And it's really loud, right? Women are looking like they're down the fuck, they're drunk. And yeah, that's why you like night game. Asians love night game. But this is why that mystery method or ABCs of attraction and other stuff can never translate to day game. They can only distract you with optics, saying that their students pulled They did not say they got laid. Oh, he pulled 3 times, but how many times did he get laid? 0? 3 dry pulls. Oh, they had a romantic connection. Well, they kissed a woman, so therefore it's a romantic connection. It's just nothing but trickster language. But for night game, there's fewer skills necessary. So that's another problem with the mystery method. So a lot of these dating coaches who push the mystery method, or should I say the misery method, they really don't have solid day game lay testimonials in 2026 or 2025. Because is it possible that mystery method actually expired? There is no mystery method that can work for day game. So they get stuck to night game. And all these guys using this type of system are just using optics now. There's no student results. They're trying to distract you. They're trying to brainwash you with Game Global, platform scamming network. They're trying to make you feel bad about yourselves, and they're just brainwashing nonstop and standing next to women that they hired. And because of that, and they don't get student results anymore, then what's happening is that they're wasting everyone's time. It's all like brainwashing because they're like, oh shit, what do we do? Johnny Lee gets another late testimonial and people are ignoring it. Why does he keep getting students late? It doesn't make any sense to them. It's like, why does Johnny Lee keep getting students late while people ignore it? And other people on Game Global, every single popular coach, there's not even one single day game late testimonial, like 0 proof. Doesn't even work. There's not even one person that have ever gotten laid from Game Global. So, hey, what's up? Thank you for being here. I need every like I could get. Not that many people showed up for this topic, but I'm going to try my best and keep talking because I have a lot to say about it. Because the reason why they don't get laid for their students is because they build off of a flawed foundation. And the flawed foundation is called the mystery method. And that's just the thing. When you have these other systems that are called derivatives, like Justin Wayne-like systems, these derivatives are like, they're using romantic flirts, but it's exactly the same structure as mystery method. It's just a new spin on it because the mystery method or the misery method is always the same. It never changes. It's basically open, attract, attraction, like spiking the emotions, all that shit. Then you got comfort. Then you move forward. You got seduction, and you got closing. So open, attract, comfort, seduction after a couple of dates, and then close. This is the mystery method 101, basically in a nutshell. And I'm going to share with you 3 insights. So that's why it doesn't work. Because the system is flawed. When you think about it, my students are always on the line of fuckability. So let me look for a screenshot. Okay. Let's just use this one, for example, we used in the last video. Because my students are using a social skills flow drill, right? Does that make sense? Their attraction spiking is they don't have to spike it up and down like these nails over here. See that? That's mystery method. They spike, 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 but there's not a lot of volume. You see that? There's not a lot of volume of water in here for mystery method. So it doesn't work. When you look at it from here to instant date, how much, like when you look at the darker spikes, right? How much actually emotions is like, oh yeah, you gotta use the mystery method because the 3-second rule, and then afterwards you like without facial expressions. Then you have to start DHV stories, and then after that you got to sexualize it, and then you gotta make her jump through some hoops, turn her around, and it's just you have a nice ass or something. And then you gotta start keynoing, and then it's like these fucking mystery method shit, right? Or you gotta push pull, and you gotta do all these romantic flirts. But we can look at it from here on the bottom. We're going to draw a new line on the bottom here. All right. We're going to expand upon this concept. We're just going to use the arrow over here. You see that arrow here? That means you got to go forward on the line. So how do we build upon this new concept? So now you see on the very bottom, hopefully, that the line goes this way. So this is called on the line or off the line. So for example, if you went to RSD style in the beginning and you start to like give a compliment in the beginning, then you go off the line. You get it? You're either here off the line, up here, or you're down here off the line. Does that make sense? And then when you're down here off the line, I'll just put X over here. Okay. Then you get rejected because you gave her a compliment. I like your style. Or I thought you're kind of cute. I came by to say hi. So when you're off the line with a mystery method, now you get rejected. Now you call it a numbers game. And you try to go for women that are 4 out of 10 that will not reject you. Yes, girls. That means you go through like over 50 or 60 approaches and you're very frustrated with the mystery method. 60 approaches just to get one to hook during this bad economy because you went direct. You gave direct compliments. When you look at my last Indian student who lives in Canada, and he lived there for 5 years. And for him, he was always doing some creative and artistic vibe bullshit. So always like, oh, creative, artistic. Oh, you're not an artist. So what do you do then if you're not an artist? This is what they call a neutral opener. Okay? A neutral opener. It does not work. Does that make sense? Because you're off the line. That also is very autistic. So they're off the line. It's Asperger's like system because it's a mystery method system. So what's happening is that they're not getting on the line. Mystery method is what? During this time period, it's supposed to be open, attraction building, comfort, and seduction and close, right? So in the beginning, mystery method is like open and all attraction building. You see that? That's why there's so many spikes here. Because mystery method is trying to spike the fucking emotions. So when it's spiking the emotions and stuff, that's why there's a nail. The darker nail is going up and down. What goes up goes down. That's why mystery method cannot work. But my system is different. It does not follow the mystery method, open, attract, comfort, seduction, and close. Because you never know when women are going to react differently. So in the very beginning, because my students are dressed whitewash and they use the hybrid opener, they don't actually get rejected here. So they go beyond here. They use the social skills flow drill because they're funneling to their body language. So their body language is gradually, as you can see, there's more volume of water going upwards. It's not huge, but after like many minutes, they get instant date because the attraction can be built in seduction, right? Seduction, which is the mystery method, says seduction's later. So you got to build all attraction in the beginning. This is where a lot of these RSD like clowns keep spiking the emotions with DHV stories, self-amusement. And then it's like, oh, I got to self-amuse. I got to validate her, John, because Todd V says she wants to be validated. So when you use the mystery method, they're off the line because they're all attraction building. They're just spiking. There's not enough points in here for 20 out of 35 for they're using game, right? They're not using body language, social calibrations to slowly, gradually move it up. And they're not, does that make sense? And the social skills flow drill, as we talk about keep her on the line over here, okay, it cuts off a little bit, but you see the new line here on the bottom, it goes forward. To keep her on the line in the beginning, if you give compliments, you're off the line. If you validate, you're off the line. If you do a push-pull, you're off the line. 3 of them, after like 70 approaches, 60 to 70 approaches, you're off the line. You're like, oh, it's a fucking numbers game. 2026 is too hard. Mystery method is not working because you're using the wrong system. The system is wrong because you cannot structure the system. Lots of system uses this. Justin Wayne uses mystery method. It's just add romantic flirts. London Daygame just adds more attraction building for challenging, self-amusement, assumption stories. What else is there? Teasing and also, these stupid things. They use these spiking of emotions. Oh, we got to self-amuse it somewhere in the beginning. Then we got to give assumption stories, assuming like a cold read. And then we also got to DHV her. And then we also got to challenge by disagreeing with her. And we got to tease her. It's like, well, what the fuck? It's so robotic. The better question is, when you look at Elon Musk's 5 principles, okay? Number 1, be less dumb. Number 2, remove unnecessary step, kind of like doging it. Number 3, don't optimize what does not need to be optimized. Number 4, accelerate the result to get the lay faster. And number 5, you automate it with drills and stuff that mystery method doesn't have. Mystery method automates it with these stupid attraction building shit in the beginning, and all comfort later on a date without even like any sort of like, and then you start spiking the emotions. They're always attraction building on a date. That's why you don't get laid. You gotta use seduction. You gotta flirt. Don't you understand? The whole structure is wrong because imagine you're in a boxing fight and you're trying to use the mystery method. Imagine you have this structure. Okay, I'm gonna walk into a boxing match. It's like you open. It's kind of like talking to a woman. Okay, so a woman that's like has higher SMV than you, she's gonna knock you the fuck out. Okay, no body language whatsoever. Just start hunching. Then you don't have the Mayweather self like the defense. The Mayweather, you can't hit him. That's the social calibrations by the 45-degree body language my students have. But for the mystery method, you don't have that. You just walk in there. I'm going to do attraction building. So I'm going to keep using right cross. Okay. Women can see that. Right cross, shitty conversational skills, improper punching, a weak, not even a jab, not even correctly done. Right cross everywhere. Right cross, attraction building, attraction. But this is like social skills flow drill, which they don't have properly. They don't have the proper punch. It's just like throwing whatever out there, like this. And then right cross, right. There's so many right crosses. And she can dodge everything. She's like, oh, I see what's coming. Oh, another mystery method or another RSD spiking emotions. Women see that, right? And they knock you the fuck out. They're like, oh, I see that. I got a boyfriend, right? I got to get going. I got to meet my friends. And then she sees all that right cross happening. Does it make sense? I'm here too. I agree to forget that the misery method. Yeah. Yeah. You're the former company that you went to, ABCs of Attraction, has gotten nobody laid for like day game. And also for night game, they only had like one guy polling 3 times in Toronto in the Western country. But he didn't get laid. He dry pulled 3 times. And then they have some romantic connections. It's all trickster language. It's just another way of saying that they got a dry pull. They did not get laid. And they're fooling people to go to Latin America onto these countries. But I digress. Let's talk about the misery method. Because you want to keep her on the line, my students, right, for boxing, it's almost like every single jab is a social skills flow drill. Most of the time, you can use a jab, but the thing is what keeps going upwards is the body language. So the 45-degree Mayweather Junior boxing body language, as a metaphor, you don't actually get hit. Does that make sense? You can dodge everything, so you can move forward on the line. But because they're giving a direct compliment, they're doing a push-pull here, and they're doing these, challenging assumption stories, DHV stories, all this other gaming shit. They're off the line in the beginning. Now they have to play a huge volume. They think it's a numbers game, but it's only a volume when you're going after a woman that you can move forward with if she's 4 out of 10. It's like you're fighting a boxer that basically don't have any sort of weight class. You're punching below your weight class, metaphorically speaking. And then if you do get laid, which I doubt it because people's emotions are fucked. If looks is out of 10, money out of 5, status for race is out of 10, right? And that's the value of the boxer, how big he is. Social skills, social calibrations, emotional control. The emotional control, right, is kind of like this. For emotional control, it's almost like an anxious boxer. He's all stressed out. He's not making much money, and then he has a bad training camp. He's just going out there and throwing whatever right crosses, attraction building, and getting rejected, knocked out every single time. This metaphor. That's why you keep getting knocked out with the mystery method. You're not actually moving things forward. So you have like 60 or 70 approaches, 75, all flakes, 0 phone numbers can convert. And that happens for most people. And usually on Reddit, every single season, one guy gets 2 lays. Maybe he's like a tall Latino or something, or somebody with some value. And then the second guy is only 2 lay count. That means 3 lays and 2 people. One other guy gets laid and nobody else gets laid. This happens once every 4 months. That's why Reddit people sucks, because they suck off the mystery method and RSD method. They're not moving forward on the line of fuckability. They might get a woman below their looks level, a yes girl. They can get through the boxing match, but everybody else that's above their looks level or the same, they get knocked the fuck out because it's like they have no skills. They don't teach social skills flow drill. They just teach you how to make statements, code read all day. Oh, you look like you are this. And then a question, are you this or that? You look like you are this. Are you this or that? You look like you are this. Are you this? It's just nothing but code read, code read, code read, code read. They're off the line because now they have no social skills and there's like a weak jab. They can't even keep the distance in boxing with the women. Like they can't keep distance with the women, like women in general. And they keep throwing right crosses because the jab always sets up the right cross. But the thing is that they have to spike the emotions because their body language that's supposed to gradually build, and the social skills flow drill is what moves it forward on the line. And the emotional control is what keeps. So, what is the emotional control, which they don't have because the economy is affecting their voice, so they sound very stressed out. But if you want to fit in the tribe of white girls, you must have a whitewashed tonality. That means my Indian students, when they're in Western countries, they have to talk like a white guy. It's like, oh, don't assimilate. Other Indian dating coaches tell you where they're using mystery method stuff. Don't assimilate. You are the best, right? Indian supremacy, bullshit. Well, if Indian supremacy and narcissism was so great with mystery method derivatives, then where are their laid testimonials? They don't move forward on the line. Even if they push pull, they hunch like crazy and do all that shit. Even if they pulled her back home, they usually use alcohol secretly in their boot camps. They don't tell you this. That's what you pay for these dating coaches, Indian dating coaches. Many of them use it. I'm not saying one. I'm not saying two. I'm saying like most. And then because they think that alcohol deals with the objections of the Indian accent, which I disagree with. My students have a no alcohol policy, or they get kicked out if they use alcohol. Does that make sense? Even my other Indian student with 4 lays, one woman that wanted to drink alcohol before she had sex, and he says no, he's not going to do it, and he got laid. That was his 3rd lay, I believe. So you don't use alcohol to deal with the objections later on and to seduce her and deal with the objections. That's the entire structure is wrong. You can't be like, oh, we're gonna open and build attraction here, and then after this is the beginning part, and on the date or instant date or maybe like day 2, which they rarely get, women don't come out because of bad economy, minus 2.5 point for their voice. So because their voice is so bad and their social skills are bad, the body language are bad, and they're using game tactics, spiking it, they always get rejected here. Always rejected over here, off the line. If they're not off the line, they'll give validation here, off the line here. If they're not, they're going to do a push-pull, off the line. Romantic flirts, off the line. Sexualizing it, UMP style, off the line. Everybody is weeded out. Does that make sense? That's why they have like given up on day game, except for my students, who actually does get laid, because they're weeded out because of the mystery method structure. My students, how do they play the boxing match? They jab whenever they use a social skills flow drill, which takes skills. It takes at least 30 days of working on the social skills flow drill to get it down. It takes 30 days. Does that make sense? To build a new habit. The reason why they keep using statements or question, statement, question, statement, question is because the middle part of their brain, the corpus callosum, right? The wiring is weak. So therefore, they can't do multiple steps. And therefore, autistic day gamers, Asperger's, they'll keep stacking statements. And they keep stacking questions. And they always get short answers. So they get like barely a jab from her. And then she gets bored of them. They get platonic, or they try to be too gamey. Then she goes for the right cross. They don't have no defense because they have no body language. They only spike. They only spike the emotions, and it goes nowhere in 2026. The attraction over here, open attraction, and later on instant date becomes like whatever. That is expired. My students, how do they stay on the line? They jab. Whenever she's off the line, they give a right cross. That means that they tease her. Does that make sense? But they always go back to a jab. You're like, really? Yeah. So they're good at jabbing. They're like Mayweather Jr. He does not do a bunch of fancy combos. He basically takes apart the opponent with jabs and right crosses. He picks them off. He doesn't get hit either because he has good social calibrations. I'm not sure if he's going to win his next fight, right? Because he's getting broke as a joke. But does that make sense? Because he's good body language and he adapts to the opponent. He jabs. And then what happens is that whenever she talks more, you flirt more. You're like, really? Why flirt? Because flirting, you don't get off the line. If you're sexualizing like UMP over here, you're halfway here and you're like, you start sexualizing her. Or tall self-proclaimed white dating coaches, they're like, you got to sexualize it. And DHV, you start doing that shit, guess what happens? You only get women that are 3 out of 10 or below, usually, when you try to sexualize it. For UMP, they actually lose 99% of women. They'll have 99 approaches. Every single one's a rejection, and the only one that stays for UMP students is 3 out of 10 for women. So the only ones that they can sexualize or do like a haymaker, get a big haymaker, overhead punch, is women that are below their looks level, severely below it. So sometimes in the past, before the tariff, that took away, like the cortisone of voice took away points. Before that happened, UMP students do have some lays, but at the same time, they always get 3 out of 10s. They're never satisfied. They never win a boxing match that's even worth fighting. And that's why they always feel bad about themselves. Give a thumbs up for that. Because now we're talking about my students. So if they always jab, they always move forward. And when it does not become platonic, because they also do a hook punch, which is they flirt. You learn from my training. And then when they flirt, they go back to jabbing, they can move forward because their body language is what spikes us up. And the whitewash tonality is how smooth they are that they can fit in the white girl's tribe. Is the rhythm. Does that make sense? Of their hits. It's kind of like when you're whitewashed, you fit in the white girl's tribe. So the reason why my students get white girls and stuff while others don't is because of their whitewash tonality. They fit in the in tribe. If you start talking like a minority, like an Asian or Indian guy, you have a very stressed out voice. It's not the accent. It's that you're going to sound very stressed out. For Asians, you're going to sound like a beta male report seeking narcissist, like ABC's of attraction students. And then for Indians, you're going to sound completely like you're going to talk super fast. You're going to stutter. And then you're going to fumble your fucking boxing match. You're going to throw everything at them. That's why Indians always like, they barely jab. They just go for spikes. Excuse me real quick. I have a question. I was looking, you have a creative and artistic vibe about you. Are you an artist? Right? Oh, that's bad. So you're not an artist. What do you do then? And then they do a push-pull. You look like this, but you also are not like that. And then they self-amuse. But you know what's funny about this? Whatever. And then they do a romantic flirt. Oh, looking at your lips, I'm starting to fall in love with you. And then afterwards, they start doing this. And like, oh, are you like a planned are you like a whatever person? A spontaneous person or a planned person? Oh, we should go blah, blah, blah. And then go for Insta date. And they start doing palm reading shit. They start holding hands. They start trying to kiss. And then they get to like level 4. They either touch or they flirt. And then they're stuck in the bedroom because they're using romantic flirts. They don't fit in the boyfriend, girlfriend frame. There's 6 frames, right? Number 1, fuckboy frame, quick sex guy. Number 2, boyfriend, girlfriend frame, romantic flirts, mystery method derivatives. Number 3, friend zone frame, social circle. Number 4, husband material frame, which my students fight from. Number 5, sugar daddy frame. Oh yeah, I got you seeking arrangements as lead gens, right? And number 6, high status. You gotta be high status and stuff, right? It's all about status, status, this, that. Shut the fuck up. My students do not status max. They don't use an Instagram. Does that make sense? They don't do that. So when you think about it, romantic flirts using mystery method derivatives is only boyfriend, girlfriend frame. Because you're not like a tall guy, 5'10" or above, you don't fit in the boyfriend and girlfriend frame. You don't fit in there. So you have to use alcohol in the boot camps. They secretly will ask you on the sales call, are you willing to celebrate with them drinking alcohol after the boot camp? You're like, yeah. So you buy some alcohol, you got in the nightstand, and they're like, when you pull women home, they're like, use the alcohol, just keep it below the level of grape. Like, what? Just keep it below the level of grape, escalate hard, use alcohol. And they're like, okay. But that was before. That was like many years ago during the pandemic era. They don't get students laid much during the tariff era, 2025 and 2026. Because now women at the very end are resisting. They don't know how to deal with it when she's backed in the corner. And then you try and get her drunk and she's fighting back as hard as she can, giving you objections. We're using a boxing metaphor. Then you always get knocked out. And then that's why it's like they don't get their in-year coaching is debunked. Their day game boot camps are debunked. Nobody gets laid with their bencho camps. Don't you get it? They're not boxing properly. So if you're boxing, you're not having a structure. You're not open, attract, comfort, seduce, and close, right? For the mystery method or misery method. You're actually jabbing all the time. And then when she's on the line, you flirt. When she's off the line, you keep jabbing. And then you tease, right? If she's off the line. You get her back on the line. So she's off the line. She gives you attitude. You right cross. Boom. Back to the jab like Mayweather. And guess what happens? She's back on the line and you flirt when she talks more. You get it? Look, how you flirt, John? What's flirting? Is it like cocky? Oh, for fuck's sakes. You gamey motherfucker. You've been brainwashed by the mystery method. Brainwashed. Brain rotted by the mystery method. Don't you get it? So my system is very fluid. It's almost like Mayweather Jr. on the line or off the line every single second. There is no like structure. There's no like open, attract, whatever. Anytime you attract, you use the right cross. Anytime you seduce, that's a later stage, right? Oh, you own mystery. Oh, you got to build 10 hours watch time before you can build seduction. So you go on like 3 dates or something. That's mystery. I'm mystery. After 3 dates or something, then you can start to bring some seduction and then you can close her. Shut up, mystery. You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Hey, when you try to close her like quickly, right? It's a fool's mate. That's why it always leads to a pro and not a shut up, mystery. You don't know how to seduce. It's all attraction building. She gotta go through hoops and stuff. You gotta make her jump through it. Shut up, mystery. That's why people are stuck because of the mystery method. The mystery method is the reason why a lot of day gamers are stuck because they're stuck with this ideology, because they're stuck with this structure. You don't need a structure. You need an adaptive boxing structure. Or I wouldn't say a structure, but an algorithm, a skill set. This is why all this stuff, you need the 2.5 points for social skills, right? To move her on the line. That's why you need social calibrations to have the body language that spikes the emotions slowly. Does that make sense? That's why you need the emotional control to be in the in tribe of the white girls, but being very smooth with your boxing, right? And not just rushing through everything, having emotional control. Kind of like Mayweather Jr. picking off people. Does that make sense? It's only later on that instead of using alcohol or, drunk women like ABCs for night game or other Indian dating coaches using alcohol to cover your accent to deal with the objections when she's fighting in the corner, my students, they sexualize it to the maximum. So, of course, they expect her to fight back, but she's only going to deal with the sexual objections when she's fighting back. Then you deal with the objections by looping it until she says, okay. So my students, they might get, if they have lower SMV, they might have 3 objections. And then all of a sudden you deal with all 3 objections. Now her legs open. Now her guards go down. Now it's easier to go for the knockout and go for the lay, metaphorically speaking. Does that make sense? Her defenses are down without using alcohol because the mystery method or misery method doesn't work anymore. They use crutches or status maxing. But in reality, that's really hard to do. If you, like one of my Indian students that lives in Canada, he always, oh, I got to use the Instagram, John. It's like, no, she looks for one thing she doesn't like. She go for the haymaker, the overhead punch, boom, and then knock you out. And don't respond to your text. You're off the line because you don't have that kind of status. Does that make sense? Husband material frame is the only way to go. It is the only way to go because it's the only thing that removes all numbers game. Because if you fight from a style, the husband material is like fighting like Mayweather Jr. in a boxing match. Mayweather Jr. has a defense like this. He has like here. And then, he actually can block most of the punches. It's called Philly shell defense. Down here, they can block lower punches. Over here, whenever they try to punch for the face, Mayweather will do a shoulder roll. The punch will go right across the shoulders here. Get it? It's either here or shoulder roll. And in case they try to do a hook punch, he blocks over here. Make sense? So this one does all the blocking on one side. This one blocks the other. And this one covers down here. So it's like a shell, right? Does that make sense? A Philly shell defense. Because it's a Philly shell defense, there's nothing to hit. That's what Elite 30 in Kaizen program comes in, because that's the social calibrations, but you have to drill it down. That gradually goes up. So therefore, the boxing style of Mayweather Jr. is exactly the husband material frame. And I think that's a good way of putting it. So they don't care about, just aim for the same day lay. Yeah. Because you don't need to get a number close because you cannot lose because you're on the line. If she's off the line, you right cross her back onto the line by teasing her, which my students don't even need to do because they're husband material. All women wants to get married. That's why the husband material frame works. You look at these modern women on TikTok. I don't use TikTok, but I should. And then you look at them Always complaining. These 30-something-year-old women. Where are all the good men? Why don't men approach us anymore? Right? They're all MGTOW, right? Oh, they're passport bros. What? They're always like secretly all these women that are like kind of like feminists, whatever, modern women. Actually, they're begging to get married, and they're deluding themselves to say to themselves, "Oh, I like being single." But you look at Vancouver; it's so fucking expensive. In Vancouver, there's a recession in Canada. We're the only country in the whole fucking world in G7 that has a recession, which is Canada, a liberal recession. Only 10% of people are in a relationship because they can't afford to go on dates. They're that poor in Canada. You're like, that's bullshit. No, it's not. For 18 to 39 years old, only 10% of them are in a relationship. That's why I'm offering Canadians a deal. During a recession, the same deal will happen in the United States if they get a recession, but I predict that they won't, right? Mr. A. I did say that the Iran war thing. You're like, oh, it's going to wrap up soon. They're going to make a deal, right? I told you it's not going to work out. It's in the last 2 years, right? Was my prediction correct? So far, so good, right? But what I'm trying to say is that I forgot my main point. Iran war, this, that. All right, I'll get back to my main point. My main point is that mystery math is not going to work. You need to keep her on the line. You need to have that 45-degree Philly shell defense. You need to pick her off on the right time to keep her on the line. You got to do hook punches to flirt and not sexualize it. You don't sexualize it until much later on. The haymaker, right? That's why UMP is wrong. They're just throwing haymakers all the time. That's UMP, right? Boom, haymaker, haymaker, sexualize it. Jab, jab, sexualize, jab, sexualize, jab, sexualize, jab, sexualize. Knock the fuck out all the time by every woman out there. Every single one. And then they go through 99 rejections and then 3 out of 10 stays. That's UMP. They used to have so many Indians. It's like UMP had more Indian students than me. I have so many Indian students before. You'll think this is like an engineering place, right? Might as well just call it Johnny Elite Software Engineering Day Game School. But they also go to UMP. But UMP does not get Indians laid. On their forum group, nobody gets laid from UMP anymore. It's all like Tinder or Night Game because their day game has expired. That debunks the entire sexualizing. When we break down the styles, right? This is like, for example, this will be London day game. Jab in the beginning. They'll start with a haymaker. Excuse me, real quick. I have a question. I was looking for a place called Zara. No, they'll be like, all right, so they'll be like, excuse me, real quick. I thought you looked kind of nice. I'll come by and say hi. Haymaker, mystery method, open attraction building. And now they're like, oh, here's a push pull. Here's a self amusement. Another statement, like a shitty punch. And she's knocking him the fuck out, right? And then they say, oh, I got to throw another right cross. Oh, I'm also going to make another assumption stories. Self amusement, challenging. They're already getting knocked the fuck out. They're getting brutalized. A huge numbers game in London. Make sense? They don't even get laid anymore. And that's the mystery method stuff. And then they're knocked out and they're like, fuck. Okay, now you go for a Justin Wayne kind of style. The romantic flirts, right? Justin Wayne, the guy on Vice that got canceled because of using seeking arrangements women. He opens with like, you got artsy vibe, right? Whatever, right? It's kind of like, it's not super direct or anything, like a slight right cross. And then all of a sudden they have conversational, right? Oh, you get a half hug for that. So what's a touching? My students don't touch. During the pandemic, they stopped touching and it worked because Elon Musk 5 principles. Be less dumb, remove unnecessary steps, which is touching, romantic flirts. Don't optimize what does not need to be optimized, romantic flirts. Accelerate the results, remove that, accelerates the results. My students get laid. Their students don't. And then lastly, automation, when you have the first 4 steps. This is like the algorithms of Elon Musk. He calls it the 5 algorithms. All his engineers, they use the 5 algorithms. So Justin Wayne style is like this. If uppercut is a touch, right? Get it? Touch. They'll start with a right cross, and then artsy vibe conversation, And then another like they don't do like romantic. They do like a lot of romantic flirts, right? Hook punch, jab, hook punch, jab, hook punch. But it's like common pattern. Uppercut. You don't have to touch these days. An uppercut, uppercut, hook punch, jab, hook punch. Then you got these other romantic sexual systems, which is basically like in the beginning, you know, you got creative and artistic vibe, jab, 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 right? Oh, push pull, right? Jab, 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 romantic flirt. Get it? Hook, right cross, hook, right cross, hook, right cross, jab, jab, right, touch, right? Hook, another push pull. I mean, another flirt. A romance. They throw like 500 romantic flirts, and you don't fit in the boyfriend girlfriend frame. So you see, their boxing styles are very lacking. Unlike the Mayweather style, does that make sense? So the main point was that the reason that husband material frame works is because some women want. No, no, all women wants to get married secretly. That's the only reason why it works. She'll have like 10 boyfriends. Does that make sense? Before she gets married. And all the guys are tall. The very last guy before she gets married is like 5 foot, I don't know, 5'9" or something. Everybody else is like 6'2", 6'1", 6'3", 6'7", 5'10", right? 5'11", 6 foot tall, and then back to like 5'9", and then she gets married. Does that make sense? So she goes through 10 guys, 10 relationships. And she swipes on Tinder, goes through a lot of side dicks just to get that one guy. And then she gets married, and that's great. But then the narcissistic women with cluster B personality disorder, kind of like the far left students on teachable cases, these women that are over 30 years old, they went through so many guys on Tinder because they're narcissistic borderline personality. They need the validation. And then from there, no guy wants to be with a high body count woman. She starts getting narcissistic. She starts getting like super, super narcissistic. Kind of like, you know, in China, women that are called leftover women, right? They're 30 years old or above, and they have such high expectations for men. They want a tall, good-looking Asian guy who's making more money than her, and she makes a lot of money in China. Like, she has no emotional intelligence, but she only cares about the money, the bride price, the dowry, and no guy wants to approach her. And then she's like single, and she's out there in the market with a sign that says, "I'm looking for a man that's making like $100,000 to $200,000 a year." And then they had to pay a bride price of like 50,000, 75,000. And it's like, and the guy's like, "Why should they be with you? Because you're older. You're 37 years old." Does that make sense? So the narcissism of cluster B kind of behaviors is actually not good. If Asian women are not like strong social skills, and the only thing they can throw is hypergamy, it's not to talk badly about Asians. I'm Asian. I have lots of Asian students. I'm just talking about the statistics and reality. If we were to pull up statistics from ChatGPT, we can see there's a lot of dating statistics that are really bad in China. Lots of leftover women. And the narcissism, I want to bring that to the West. Western modern women have this, like the cluster B personality. They're histrionic show off. They'll go on fucking TikTok and they'll air all their problems out, how they deluding themselves to be single. That's why they're delusional, because they're narcissistic. And they're cluster B. They're almost like the unteachable cases. And then they get older, and guys can see that. The guys go after like 20-year-old women. And then these modern women gets all their friends, they get married because they're not cluster B. She's the only one that doesn't get married. And then she just like, where are all the men? Why are they not approaching? Does that make sense? That's why the husband material is important, because all of them are begging to get married. It's biology. They all want to procreate, survival and replication value. Every woman out there wants to have a baby and procreate one day. They secretly want that so badly. So why would you dress in any sort of frame? Why would you give romantic flirts? Why would we just go jab, jab, hook punch, right cross, hook punch, right cross, hook? It's a fucking, and then barely jab. It's a pattern that's very, very predictable. And you always lose at the end when you try to corner her. So you need alcohol. You need to cheat your opponent, right? By throwing powder in her eyes when you're fighting, or using like boxing gloves that are like, you know, that has like spikes in it, metaphorically speaking. You got to cheat your way with alcohol so she cannot resist. You're a loser and you're a cheater. But that's why their boot camps don't work, because the tariff era, during that time, women are so stressed out, they'll actually push the opponent back or kick them off the bed. That's why in their boot camps, they can't get anyone laid anymore, because women are always resisting. Okay? So right now, I'm looking at how many people showed up here. I'm dropping some real truth bombs here, some real value. And instead, they're not here. I don't know why. Like, I'm dropping some real truth. That mystery method, because it's so structured and is a dynamic boxing match, you can never win, no matter how hard you try. But you know how many views so far? Not that many. I'm very disappointed. It's like, are people turned off by me or something? One second. Roasting mystery, right? Did I insult your game religion? Offending you? Debunking you? Good, right? Then why don't mystery method and game global get people laid, right? Using that game technique, right? I think people are offended by my last video. I'm not sure. They always get offended. They always get offended. And the reason why they're offended is because their entire life is hinged upon the mystery method, a flawed boxing strategy. It's flawed. It will never work anymore. And you're playing a huge numbers game, and even women that are below your looks level are knocking you out because you're moving too fast, because you have no emotional control because of the economy affecting your voice. Don't you see? The mystery method is a flawed system. It can never, ever work. It can never work when you look at it. Okay? So that's why it's called the misery method now. The misery method. There can't be only 6 views here. Seriously. It's like, what? People are turned off, or they don't want to go YouTube live, or did the economy get worse or something? I don't know. Like, what the fuck? Did I say something wrong? Anyways, I'm going to continue to preach this. So what I'm trying to say is that you need 20 out of 35 points. Okay? That debunks partially the mystery method. The cortisol from the economic stress from the tariff era kind of fucks with everything, your emotional, everything. It says it can mess up your voice and making you sound stressed out. So the push pulls, in reality, it pulls points away from your emotions. And sure, you might be thinking, right? But the mystery method is original. They're the OG, right? They're the OG. And that's not true. Would you say people that reason that birth rates is dropping if women do want to secretly procreate? Well, it's actually very simple, because whenever like in any economy that have reached the peak of civilization, the birth rate starts to drop. And then all of a sudden, when the economic stress happens, like different cycles, like recessions or inflation, and then men, they cannot afford to pay for anything with far left policies, the economy starts to crash. And then what happens is you get more cortisol stress. Just look at Japan, for example. They work all day, all night. They're so stressed out, they couldn't even get it up. They have no social skills. And their women, some of them become prostitutes on the side because they're not making enough money. They stand in certain street corners and stuff. Or they work in these hostess bars or brothels and stuff like that. So in Japan, with a weak yen, right, bad economy, for example, what happens is that when men get too stressed out, and women, and they have less social skills. They're not socializing. Does that make sense? They're not socializing. Then what happens is that the cortisol stress affects their emotional control. And then women don't like stress because it means that you don't have good genes for procreation. Whenever you're stressed out in the face, right? And you talk like my smear campaigner, Sebastian, that guy sounds like a Joker, right? From the Dark Knight. He's very angry sounding. So he's status max passport broing in Latin countries. But when he's in a Western country, it makes no money. You get it? The thing is that when they're stressed out in the face, women can see the cortisol stress. They get turned off. Does that make sense? So I'm here to show you that. I hope that makes sense because the same thing in China. China is the same way because Donald Trump with the tariff, right, makes it harder for drop shipping exports to leave the country. Therefore, that's where the economy is. It crushed the Chinese economy. Therefore, people barely make money in a communist system. I mean, Canada is becoming a communist system too. And Donald Trump is saying that communism is more dangerous than atomic bombs. And a lot of the people, right, in the midterms and stuff, are communists taking over the Democratic Party. There's a huge movement towards communism and socialism. But in reality, what I'm trying to say is that stress makes the birth rate goes lower, and they cannot afford the dates and they cannot afford the marriages. Does that make sense? When they feel like they can't afford to do that, they say, why even bother? They turn MGTOW. So it becomes the fastest growing movement, the MGTOW, men going their own way. But Asians don't know what MGTOW means, but they do it anyways. So men need to take responsibility to have better skills. Yeah, they don't know I exist. If the Japanese government sponsors me and I train all of Japanese men, most of them will fix the birth rate problem in less than 8 months. Lots of people will get married, they'll get laid a lot, and the whole economy will change. But they don't know about this stuff. People just think day game equals gamey game mystery method shit. Does that make sense? So I'm going to show you that you can dodge those rejections that come from cortisol messing with your voice. That same cortisol that affects Japan, the same cortisol that affects China. And even though there's a lower birth rate in South Korea, it has spiked up dramatically and then it might go back down. Well, maybe it's because K-pop culture, I'm not sure. They have positive reinforcements, better looks maxing with plastic surgery. Who knows for sure? Because in China, the women, if they can't afford plastic surgery, what they'll do is that they'll use a face filter. A lot of these Chinese women will go on their version of TikTok. I forgot what it's called, Dojin or something like that, or Billy, something like that. They'll go on their version of TikTok, and then they use a face filter. And sometimes when the face filter fails, and they realize they're looking at a 65-year-old woman, and makes her look like a younger, prettier, big-eyed, younger looking women. They always have this look in China where women try to act cute as stuff, try to act like they're younger. And sometimes the women will get a surgery to have that look. So the face filters, but South Korea, the surgery is their face filters. But their birth rate goes up a little bit. So it's kind of strange anomaly, but they're not, maybe like the thing is they have a very stressful economy. It's like Squid Games over there. It's very tough. But for China, man, it's like Hunger Games. Reality, China, their population is not like 1 billion. It's a lie. It's closer to like I don't know, 400 million, 300 million, 500 million. Everything else is a lie. Oh, China has a huge economy. No, most of the people, they either die from COVID or they drop dead. So back then when they caught it, a lot of people had died. Also, a lot of people, for no reason at all, I'm not saying what caused it. I don't know. But they have fucking dropped dead in China. Younger people have dropped dead from all the stress. So that's kind of weird. In fact, most of the streets in China, in different countries outside of, I forgot the name of it, not Beijing, but they usually have bigger places, right? That are popular. They usually go there. They can't even find a job. Most of the smaller villages is empty. Nobody's going to shopping malls. It almost looks like it's COVID all over again, like lockdowns. But yeah, a stressed out economy will have a lower birth rate. In China, when they had a better economy back then, the birth rate was growing so big that they had this one child policy, right? And then they changed that a little bit. But you see that stress equals fucking up your voice. Stress takes away any mystery method advantages. The mystery method, when you look at the boxing match and they're off the line, they keep losing. They're just facing opponents before when they used to get laid without a bad economy affecting their boxing. So they cannot move forward. They're giving direct compliments, push pulls, DHV stories, sexualizing it, all that shit, right? Self amusement. What's happening is that for the mystery method, that doesn't work anymore because the voice is affected by the cortisol. Obviously, the voice is affected in Chinese countries too, in Japan. Whatever happens in Japan and China happens around the world later on. They're the canary in the coal mine. So the voice is, that's why it's important. That's why my course, Elite Tonality Mastery, is the third part of Elite Bundle Resurrections. You have that course, right? That course, it fixes your cortisol in your voice. So that way you're more relaxed. You don't stutter and you don't, you mask away all the cortisol stress. So women cannot tell that you have autistic traits or monotone, right? The thing is that this is just how you get your foot in the door, how you get the rhythm in boxing. If you don't have that emotional control, the rhythm and being calm and still being able to pick off your shots, the right timing, and you're just going right up to there and just doing nonstop right crosses, like RSD style, self amusement, attraction building, mystery method, like a zombie, you're going to fail. Completely fail. So there's a way to improve your results. So the first roast of the mystery method is it's an Asperger's like system because it's so structured, right? Open, attract, comfort, seduce, and close, right? 5-step process. ABC attraction. Oh, you gotta be like, A, right? It stands for like approach, attract, whatever. B stands for be in the moment, like all that stuff. C stands for comfort, compliance. D stands for direct intent. Finally, direct intent seduced later on. Stupid. Mystery method, attraction building, night game RSD shit only works for Asians and night game before the tariff era in the North America and for ABCs because of the mystery method. And then afterwards, you evaluate, and the F is like, fund their future, whatever. You see if you want a relationship. All that's bullshit. That's why they go night game doesn't work anymore during the second year of the tariff. And then afterwards, they just swipe on fucking Tinder, which is 12 out of 35. They're status maxing with high status job, being engineer, which is higher value than most in third world countries, Latin countries. And they pay $7,000 for a Latin tour boot camp just to get one lay. They get 900 matches in 3 days. They could have done that by themselves. My Asian student in Asia who got 15 lays, 5 models, 5 white girls, 2 actresses, and married one of the actresses. He's a father now. For him, right? For him, he actually, for him, if they're getting one lay for $7,000, he has 75 lays. Is that $75,000? Ridiculous. It's super easy in Latin countries. You automatically get 900 matches just by swiping. You're like, really? 900 matches by being Asian. Engineer, you have a decent lifestyle on your Instagram. You have a third world money status advantage by traveling to different countries. You automatically will get laid on Tinder with a woman that's below your looks level. Trust me. I saw a lot of the lays from that student that got 15 lays for Daygame. He never gotten laid for Daygame before until he took my training. Now he's married with an actress in Asia, a professional actress, and then he's a father. So he did show up in the movie. That's how he met her. But he banged 2 women in the trailer because of the arrow science maneuver, sexualized objections looping. Does that make sense? So it's not because of alcohol and heavy bedroom masculation, because of romantic flirts you don't fit in the boyfriend-girlfriend frame. This 5'8" student. So mystery method is very logical. It's very monotone. This is why instructors, Justin Wayne, very Asperger's like, or other former engineers. You got ABC's NASA former engineer. You got queefing canceled Casanova, another biotech engineer, Todd V engineer. You got all these engineers, right, that are running the mystery method. They have a derivative. Their system is based on the open, attract, comfort, seduce, close method. That does not work in a boxing match. That you get fucking brutalized because of your emotions are bad. You can't even focus, and you're throwing punches like crazy, right? Nonstop, like just right crosses. She can see the fucking pattern. Oh, another creepy pickup artist. Too much cortisol. She's turned off by the way you move because you're moving too fast. You have no control. Then you get knocked out. She has a boyfriend. And then you're wondering, why is game not working? So you go back and you make 500 approaches because before you used to get laid. Let's say some of you, high value hard case, used to get laid in a Western country. And all of a sudden you don't get laid anymore. So you triple the approaches. You quadruple it. And you keep losing the boxing matches because you don't know how to fucking box because you're not training with me. You can't afford it. You're 5-figure debt. You're a loser. So you keep losing. Even women that are lightweight in the weight class are knocking you the fuck out every single time. So a lot of people who are attracted to this linear way of thinking, the tonality is often very monotone for a mystery. He talks in a very Asperger's kind of Todd V kind of way where only one note goes up and the rest of it goes down. And kind of like down here, monotone. This is like how Asperger's talk like. Or is Asperger people, they talk like this, then I'll go up. It's like either or. There's never like a normal whitewash tonality. Everything has to fit into a box for the mystery method. The box, if you throw in like 5 alphabets, A, B, C, D, E, or F, like 6. Or maybe you got to throw in open, like O, A is for attract, C is for comfort, S is for seduce, and C is for close. You throw in those letters. It's always stuck in the same box. It's like a chess game for the misery method or mystery method. It's nothing but a chess game, an autistic Asperger's chess game, and that Asians are using it for night game in Western countries. And the saddest thing is seeing people in Toronto, because ABC's lowered the price of their boot camps, going there, they're going to spend over $5,000 a year because it costs money for drinks, it costs money for cover fees, it costs money for an Uber, all this other shit. They're going to spend $5,000 to $6,000 a year. And Asians are not procreating, they're not growing in terms of the population, and only a few people can afford ABCs of attraction boot camps. And even if they lower the price, the opportunity cost of not doing day game will get you stuck. Does that make sense? So what's happening is that back in the day, mystery had his moments, but it's not the OG. I'm actually the OG. When I started in 2001, you're like, well, what do you mean 2001, John? You don't look that old. That's correct. Your observation is correct. I don't physically age. Like, well, are you looking older than me? No, I look exactly the same as I looked for the last 10 years as a day game coach. It's true, right? Do I look that much different than before? Look at me. I look exactly the fucking same. I don't physically age. I have my shitty fucking hairline right here, up here. It's exactly the same. You look at a picture of me 10 years ago, I have exactly the same fucking hairline. But I don't physically age. I'm like a vampire or something. But I am actually the original gangster, not mystery. I started in university. I went to art school. In the university. And the government pays for the program. It's subsidized by the government, so I don't pay like $50,000 or $70,000 for the education. No. In 2001, I was using fucking dial-up on a telephone line that goes out of the wall, and you have to plug it in, and then the thing beeps and stuff, and then you're online, and then you go to a news group, not a forum group. They don't have forum groups. A news group looks like a forum group, and then you go through the field reports to learn. But their stupid structure was indirect. It wasn't direct or mystery method. It was NLP right brain, not left brain mystery. It was like Ross Jeffries kind of shit. Does that make sense? And it wasn't even a day game guide. I didn't even know the difference. It was a fucking night game guide I read. So I approached like every woman in university. I couldn't approach everyone. University had a lot of students and stuff, but I try to approach as many as I could. Every single lunch, I will approach. On the way to school, I'll be sketching women in my sketchbook and then starting a conversation. And then there was no cell phones back then. So we had to write down their phone number on a piece of paper. You're like, what the fuck are you saying? That's right. There was no cell phones. You're like, what kind of era did you start university in? When I was growing up, there was no cell phones. In high school, girls would just write their name and also their phone number on my hand. Right. And back then I was quite good looking. So I had a big social circle of white girls and Asian girls back then. But then when I tried to cash in on that by, seducing them later on, they all friend zoned me. So that's the third frame. Fuck boy frame, boyfriend, girlfriend frame, and social circle friend zone. They didn't want to go further. They say, well, you're good looking, right? But they don't, it's like they don't want to. Does that make sense? That's fucked up. But the ones who do like me are usually girls like that are either not super good looking, but they have glasses or something, and they find me attractive. But the other ones, even though they find me attractive, doesn't mean that I'm boyfriend, girlfriend frame material. Does that make sense? I learned the hard way. Back then, there was no like role models for Daygame. I started in 2001. That means the lay guide was there in the first year. So mystery method, mystery was only there like 2003, 2004, somewhere like that. Mystery was not the OG. Johnny Elite is the original gangster. You're like, well, this is some hidden history. I'm actually one of the very first day gamers out there. I didn't intentionally want to become a day gamer. I just wanted to lose my virginity in university. I was desperate. Give a thumbs up for telling the truth, being vulnerable. I was desperate and I was angry afterwards. That's why I fucking benchoed it, gone crazy, and I study every single game system in the world. And for every 3 months, I would test every new system to see if it worked my body. Most of it doesn't work until my Pakistani mentor, when I met him, and then he starts giving me gold bars, not gold nuggets from like 1% gold nuggets from every system. Yeah, the gold nuggets do help, but the gold bars helped even more. Does that make sense? The social skills, the social calibrations, emotional control, and the whitewash fashion is what I learned from the naturals. The supernaturals. Does that make sense? I look at them, I observe their body language, and it's like, wait a minute, these guys are doing something different. So why not teach the students how to do it? When I first taught game in 2012, okay? In 2012 in Vancouver, I taught in a big group. I Steel Gen lifestyle students. The other tall, good-looking Asian dating coach who benchoed it to China. I'll just fucking steal his students and teach them. I do that year after year, but in big groups. Eventually, the groups got smaller, more boot camp like. And then in 2016, I made my website. When I made my website, I was online. I have no like domain name to it. If I start my PayPal, I start my coaching. I started teaching Skype. My first student was Australian. He lost his virginity with my coaching, but he was an unteachable case. He was cluster B, cluster C, also cluster A. That means schizophrenic, like delusional. But then he got laid because he disappeared, right? He benchoed it. I had to like give him back a course. So I made the Elite Playbook. It wasn't called Elite Playbook, probably called Gaming Elite something. But it's called the Elite Playbook now. That's why I was called Gaming Elite. That's what my name. I had a logo, right? That says that. And that's when I made the first 12 videos, right? I want to make some videos for him. So that way, because he paid me for 3 Skypes, right? I had to give him back some value, but I started selling that as a course. I started upgrading the Elite Playbook. I was mostly focused on game. You get it? I did not read Mystery Method until much later, but I learned a lot of different styles. I learned every system up to that point. I've been field testing it. Now I'm split testing it with the students, but Mystery was not the first. But I digressed. So when you mix this stuff with RSD mass approaching, and you think you had a structure, open, attract, comfort, seduce, and close, now you're stuck with the Asperger's method, the mystery method, the misery method for engineer dating coaches or former engineers. That's why you can't get laid for dating. Give it a thumbs up for that, right? The reason you can't get laid for that is because of the misery method. There's no way you could have done it. And it's not like I'm hating on ABCs. It's just they cannot get students laid for day game. It's not like I'm hating on Game Global. It's just they can't get students laid for day game anymore because they all use the mystery method with RSD mass approaching. That is Asperger's. You cannot be Asperger's. You got to be neurotypical, like a natural. That's why social skills, social calibrations, emotional control is better. So open, attract, comfort, seduce, and close. Simple enough, right? But here's the problem. When everyone else and their mothers start using the exact same blueprint for day game, well, I'm just joking about that, but they box themselves in. It's like watching a bunch of clowns or Asperger ass clowns juggling the same balls, right? Metaphorically speaking. Eventually it becomes messy. Everybody says the same fucking things. Everybody uses the same Asperger's night game techniques that does not translate to day game. Same fucking shit. And then everybody follows the same steps and they wonder why the results disappeared, especially during the tariff era. This is important because my approach is completely different. I don't rely on old mystery method attraction techniques. Well, I am the OG, so I don't fucking respect mystery. He's not the OG, I am. Despite me looking like a 26-year-old or 27-year-old, I'm the OG. Who knows? I could be like, for all you know, right? Me and Mystery and all these other people, I could be the same age as all the second generation dating coaches. So I could be really old. For all you know, I could be a boomer. But you can't tell. You don't know my real age because I started in 2001. I could be older than most of the dating coaches out there. And you're like, well, really? You don't look that old. I just don't physically age. That's all. I could be older than all the other dating coaches. I'm first generation PUA, the zombie PUA types, when they start showing on internet for the lay guide and the field reports and stuff. You know, I wish I actually joined it and started contributing to it. You know, I wish I did that. But I digress. I don't rely on routines. I don't rely on canned game lines or techniques. I focus on nonverbal communications, the 45-degree body language, right? And this is what it is. The 45-degree body language, it goes upwards. It spikes without spiking the emotions. It gradually keeps going upwards. As long as you can stand like that for the beginning part of the day game, you automatically get instant date. Hybrid opener, hard to get rejected. When you do that mystery method spiking, it becomes like this, off the line. You only have so little volume for the nails over here for the spiking. Does that make sense? You get so little volume compared to that gradual. You don't even need to tease or you don't need to flirt if your body language is Kaizen level perfect, like a natural. Does that make sense? Everyone that took Kaizen that finished it all got laid. 100% success rate. The ones who did not finish it, most of the other guys gotten laid before, much later on, except for Sebastian, the smear campaigner from Reddit. Everybody else got laid. Does that make sense? Everybody else got laid. So think chilled whitewash tonality, right? Now that you're on the line, when you're whitewashed, it's actually easier because you can match her rhythm better because you're relaxed. A whitewash tonality, you move faster on the line of fuckability from left to right. Because whitewash means better rhythm, more relaxed. You're not anxious. When you're anxious, you get knocked out faster in the boxing match. Does that make sense? And the gradual going upwards is a social calibration. Social skills flow drill is what funnels her into the boxing match, the jabs, right into your body language, your Mayweather defense, the Philly shell. She can't hit you. So think social calibrations, nonverbal communications, and social skills flow drill. That funnels her into your body language. You build attraction without needing all these extra techniques. That's what makes a huge difference. That way, you don't need as many techniques or game techniques for my one. The only technique that my students use is the T's, which is the right cross. We have deleted everything, like Elon Musk's 5 principles. Be less dumb. Remove unnecessary steps in Doja. Does that make sense? Also, don't optimize what does not need to be optimized. Romantic flirts, attraction building shit, all the other shit. Accelerates the next one. Mass approaching is not accelerating, it's decelerating your results. Mystery method is not accelerating it for the 4th principle of Elon Musk. It's decelerating it and automate when you have everything done. You don't automate the mystery method or game techniques. You practice the social skills flow drill. You practice the body language. You practice the whitewash tonality. And then instead of using alcohol in the bedroom or just a numbers game or status maxing, all you have to do to win is to like sexualize it to the maximum. First, you maneuver her back home. Instigate venue changes, maneuver back home. Sexualize it to the maximum, get sexual objections out. Deal with the sexual objections, you get laid. She gives you 2 sexual objections. It's almost like she's in a corner. She's throwing back whatever, but you want her to throw back sexual objections only, not logistical objections or any of the irrelevant shit of mystery method. Then you can deal with the sexual objections. But most of you, when you're in an opponent that's cornered, they might fight back harder. Therefore, you get knocked out faster because they're ferocious. That's why you don't get laid. You just try to escalate harder. That becomes a problem. So that's why you're stuck with the misery method. You don't get laid. And this is a very fixable thing. There's no reason why you should ever use the mystery method or the misery method. It just doesn't get people laid. If the only people that gets laid from it in a bad tariff economy, the only ones are mostly just tall white guys getting Asian girls. That's about it. A mismatch of values. One's way higher. The boxer that's stronger, taller, more like genetically gifted against your opponent. So with my system, you don't need as much game when you have more skills. All right. And I just wanted to let you guys know that there's an offer for Elite 30. If you can approach for 2 weeks in a row, most people get laid. If you can do that and you buy Elite Bundle Resurrections Part 2 or 3 for Elite Access, and you can document it in a Google Drive. Here's day 1, right? Here's me practicing in the mirror, a tall mirror. You have here's my cell phone. Here's the date. Well, I'm not lying. I'm practicing 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute. You put that in your Google Drive, right? Under practice. And the next one, you send the audio infield, right? You say the date, whatever, right? You're out there. You document it. And you practice day 1, right? Happy, fun, carefree, positive vibe. But you have to demonstrate happy, fun, carefree, positive vibe of day 1 of your infield out there. Get it? If you can show that day 2, right, is the second lesson, and you show the second lesson, you do that for like 30 days, or you do that for even 2 weeks, right? I will give you 3 months when you get Elite Access, which is 2 or 3. If you follow instructions and you do this, my students who've gotten laid, they already done that. You get 3 months extra on top of the 1 year. So that's one offer that I'm having right now. The second offer is for Canadians that are fooled by ABCs of attraction night game. They're lowering down the price and they're not getting one laid. They're just dry pulling. For anyone that's Canadian, they're Asian or Indian, right? Asian to Indians. If you want like a better price because bad economy, a recession, a liberal recession, of communism recession, and you want a better price, contact me, negotiate with me. If you give me a price and I say no, that's fine. Make me another offer. You make me so many offers until I say, okay, I'm willing to do that. I'm going to help you. And you're like, that's not fair. Americans don't get that. Nope. Unless you're in a recession, then you get the same deal. We got to help out the people, get them laid. And we cannot just ignore the Canadians because there's a Canadian audience too. I have a Canadian audience. They just can't afford shit. So anyways, the second roast about the mystery method is that the mystery method works better for night game than day game. Night game is only around 15 out of 35. Day game is 20 out of 35. Looks is out of 10. Money's out of 5. Status for your race is out of 10. Social skills, 2.5 points. Social calibration is 2.5 points. Emotional control, 2.5 points. And game, 2.5 points. You get 20 out of 35 by drilling the skills, which raises your value, like my students. You automatically get laid. 20 out of 35. That's why I'm not accepting people that have too much cortisol right now into my training. The guys with double chin, receding hair, no muscles, and they're also losing their memory, those types. The cortisol zombies. I'm not going to let you join. You join Elite 30. Do not join Elite Bundle Resurrections. You will not be allowed. It's not like I'm picking students. I don't have that many leads. But whatever leads I do get, I close. When I close them, they become students. And they get laid. Like most of the students that have joined that are recent. Every single one of them, except for the new ABC student who just joined like 4 days ago. He's gotten laid 2 like white girls before. Redheads. But he just rejoined. But almost everybody got laid. Despite Sebastian's smear campaign on Reddit. I had to get everyone else laid. I don't have as many students. So the conversion rate went up because I went for a better quality of students. It's not because I'm saying that, you have a double chin, you can't join. I'm just saying with a double chin as a boxer, you become weaker. You become out of breath. You have no muscles. You have no memory. You have no muscle memory from your drills. You get knocked out automatically. I hope that metaphor makes sense from a boxing point of view. I'm looking for people that at least have some kind of SMV. They have some kind of they're not super short. They don't have problems. They don't get winded easily and get knocked out. That's all I'm asking for. People that have experience, that have won matches. I'm not looking for an unteachable case that can't even get a date, that have been flaked on nonstop, who has lost every boxing match. Does that make sense? But for night game, it's not 20 out of 35. You only need 15 out of 35. You take away social skills because night game systems do not transfer well to day game. Have you noticed that? Whenever you have a night game coach like ABCs, they can't get people late for day game because it's built on the misery method. They only got one guy with glasses called Colin or something. I don't know. They keep bringing this guy up, right? He got laid in 2024, I believe, in Latin America for a day game, right? In Peru and Brazil. Good for him. He's the only one who can get laid from the whole ABCs of attraction. If they have 500 students, only one guy can get laid in Latin America. Not during 2025 or 2026. They're just swiping because they're engineers who can afford it. But who else can afford it in North America? What kind of Asian man can spend $10,000 to fly to Latin America to pay a coach $7,000 for a swiping on fucking Latin America, third world country boot camp? Who can afford that? Engineers, software engineers. Nobody else. They priced everybody else out. Night game is not the solution, or Tinder in Latin countries. Tinder is only 12 out of 35. That's why they status match. But for night game, it's only 15 out of 35 because you cannot use social skills because it's too loud in nightclub. They can't hear each other. And they also have no emotional control. Loud music, drunk women, there's no emotional control or chillness. You can't be chilled in your vibe. So therefore, night game has less points than day game. That's why you got these coaches that are tall, self-proclaimed. Yeah, I mean, they focus on game techniques and also body language. But everything else, forget it. Forget it. Night game, super easy compared to day game. That's why I have more day game lay testimonials than all of them. All the game global coaches in the world combined. Because day game requires skills. Skills don't expire. Social skills, social calibration skills, emotional control skills. 55% of your communication is nonverbal. 38% is your tonality. 7% of the game techniques, the routines, the lines are words. So you're only focusing on the 7%. And your tonality is fucking up to 38% of your communications. And your body language, never mind about that. You don't even have it. It's just mass approaching, hunching, squaring off, and getting auto-rejected. getting knocked out in every boxing match. That's what's been happening to you because you choose to listen to the mystery method. So the main thing to understand here is that, this is why so many Asian men struggle with day game. They're using the mystery method system that was only built for night game, but not built for day game. Those systems simply do not transfer enough to day game. If you think I'm wrong, then look at all the night game coaches. They just cannot do day game. Day game people can do night game. My students can do night game, but they don't want to because they get so much lays from day game. Why would they go and go night game? Or they end up going to a Latin country for ABCs, not my students, and swiping on Tinder because of status maxing. Or they end up with night game in North America because they don't believe for these Asian guys that they can do day game. They don't believe they can develop the skills because they don't want to stretch because they think it's easier to block pill by looks maxing, by dirty bulking like a bulky Ninja Turtle, so that women at the end of the night when everyone goes home and you're an Asian guy and there's an Asian woman that has nobody to go home with, she looks at you with your big bulky Snorlax, big fat body that you believe is strong, and then she goes home with you. And then you say, oh, you get laid from night game, so you don't need day game. But not everyone could build a bulky compound Ninja Turtle body. That doesn't work for day game. Nobody, like most Asians, cannot build that. So they default back to the environments where fewer skills are required. That means that the mystery method has created a lot of frustration for Asian men because it is not transferable for day game. And it pushes Asian men towards night game as the only option, or towards Latin third world countries, swiping on Tinder, where you automatically get 900 matches. It doesn't matter if you have an Instagram or not. As long as you are not from Latin America, you swipe on there, you have 900 matches with decent pictures, which is leaving the day game completely off the table. Does that make sense? Because of that, now ABCs of attraction, when they were more popular on Game Global and squatting Casanova or queefing canceled Casanova, was canceled in many Latin American countries where he's charged with a crime in Brazil. I'm not sure where he is now, but the thing is, he's running away from the law because their students pose underage girls there. But regardless of that, these guys, because you had this halo effect because they're better looking than me, they're taller, or they're stronger. Even ABCs are better looking than me and they're stronger, even though he's shorter. But they listen to these guys with better looks because that's the halo effect. You take one thing about them, looks, muscles, and then you ignore all the bad things. You're like a sheep. You're like, you didn't even know you're doing this. You're like, oh, I don't do that, John. I don't use the halo effect. You actually do. That's why my subscriber count is only 1,400 people, because I don't have the halo effect. I'm not overly good looking. I'm not overly tall. I'm not overly strong. I'm just moderately okay. But they'd rather listen to somebody else that looks better, stands next to women in a DSLR photo shoot that they paid for, like Asian Lee from Game Global, or else another guy called High Integrity Skills or Low Integrity Scams. They're better looking than me, so they trust them automatically over me, which is stupid. So that's the thing. You can't just let the halo effect take over, or because they don't even get people laid anymore. If you look at Asian Lee, like testimonial pages, hardly anyone laid. You can't transfer that rectangular square jawline with optics pictures. These tricksters, right? And a lot of Game Global, they're just standing next to women now. They don't get anyone laid. Indian dating coaches, nope. For day game, where are their lay testimonials? And you're like, well, they have plenty. It's like, show me. I don't fucking see any. It's all bullshit. They just cannot get any more because the boxing match, when they're using the mystery method, can never get over that line. With romantic flirts, romantic sexual, right? Non-stop right crosses, right? For teasing and push pose and shit, spiking emotions, and non-stop hook punches for romantic flirts. And a little bit of jabs, but predictable pattern. They go the distance, and then when she's cornered, they just use alcohol or they cheat, putting like stuff in their boxing gloves or using alcohol to win the match against women that are below their looks level. You look at their students and you look at the women they get, they're always ugly, busted trash. You look at my students, again, women above their looks level. Looks impossible, but they're able to do it because they have skills. They're boxers. They're like Mayweather Jr. They learn how to defend themselves with the social skills flow drill, that helps them with the jabs. The Philly shell defense, which they dodge all the punches, is the social calibrations. The emotional control is being calm and relaxed and having the right rhythm. And they don't need to uppercut for touching, right? It's not like nonstop touching and fucking, stupid ass palm reading shit. That stuff has expired. It's all bullshit. So for Asians out there, you want to join me, you're from Canada, negotiate with me a price. You give me the price, I say yes or no. Then you can still train with me because there's a recession. The money's worthless. I move $1,000 American into a Canadian bank. I get so much fucking money. It's like, because there's an inflation. It's like Venezuelan money is worthless. It's like toilet paper for Canadian money. It's like toilet paper. It really is. And also, the other offer is that if you buy Elite 30, most people are buying Elite 30 these days. If you can approach for the first 2 weeks, right? When you buy part 2 or 3 of Elite Bundle Resurrections, if you can show me in a Google document or Google Drive that you recorded the infields, but you practice in front of the mirror and you don't procrastinate and bench hold, you compress it to 2 weeks. I can add 3 months to your coaching if you want. That's a new offer. This is to reward the people, because if you do the kind of behaviors that get you laid, most people that approach for 2 weeks, right, or 3 weeks using Elite 30, they automatically will get laid. And I have another Indian in Toronto who also got laid using one of the bonus courses, Elite Daygame First Steps. By not using the creative and artistic vibe opener, he used a hybrid opener, stuff like that. So the third roast is that mystery method is very unnatural. My students have to keep the women on the line. So how do you keep her on the line? You're either on the line or off the line. See that? So when she's off the line in the beginning here, you give a direct compliment, or you do push pose, or you give validation. She's off the line here. You got to punch her back on the line, metaphorically speaking, for boxing. Metaphor. That's your right cross. Then you got to use the social skills flow drill to move forward. And when you're too much forward, the line turns blue. You got to turn it back to red. You got to flirt here to move it forward. And then when she's off the line again, you got to tease her back on the line. Too platonic. Flirt, keep her back on the line. Get it? And then if you keep doing that, but you have the 45-degree body language, social skills flow drill, and the whitewash tonality, it becomes like a perfect on the line. But they're off the line for everyone else. Push pose, direct game, all this stuff. Doing a haymaker in the beginning, trying to stagger her with a compliment. But she's going to give you a flaky phone number later on. The boxing match doesn't even go the distance. 3 minutes, you get a number close. Then you lose the match. She knocks you out later on. Doesn't reply to your text, and when she does, she doesn't come out. So that's the thing. You got to tease her on the line, or you got to flirt when she's on the line. So a lot of interactions for a lot of people, for the students that go to Asian coaches or Indian coaches, and they got brainwashed. They're extremely platonic. They don't ever flirt. And you don't want to sexualize it or use romantic flirts. Because when you sexualize it, you're off the line. And most of the time for UMP, that only attracts women by half-ass sexualization. You're halfway doing it. That only attracts women that are 3 out of 10 in looks. That's it. You don't really attract women that are high on the looks level. You attract like busted trash. 99% of the women are filter out because of that. And only like a small percentage of them stays. 3 out of 10. They always bang 3 out of 10s before the tariff. Now they don't bang anybody for UMP. So, and also, A lot of guys are too platonic, so they only jab, but they don't even do it correctly. And they're off the line. They get flaked on, plus their emotions suck. So therefore their movement sucks. And that's your cue to flirt. But it's like a dance, right? You maneuver her around. You add a little bit, flirts at the right times. And then when you finally pull her back home because you're not off the line, you don't have to keep spiking emotion because of the mystery method. Open, attract, comfort, seduce, and then close, right? At the end, mystery method is very unethical. He calls it last minute resistance. Oh, women will always give you a token resistance. He'll just ignore her and keep escalating. That's borderline grape. That's what mystery method teaches because it doesn't work. And he's hoping by going through multiple dates or 10 hours of watch time on long dates, then you can seduce later on. In most cases, doesn't work. During a tariff, when she's anxious, and during those 10 hours, she's not going to give a fuck. So you deal with the sexual objections. For my system, maneuver, you sexualize it to the maximum, and you deal with sexual objections. There's no rigid structure. It's a fluid Mayweather junior boxing match. There is no open, attract, comfort, seduced, which is only at the end to the mystery method, and then try to close. Fuck that. My system is much more fluid. It adapts to her in real time. This is key because my system is dynamic. You'll be on the line, right? You'll be on the line moving forward. You won't be off the line all the time. You cannot say, oh, it's a numbers game. So when you get off the line, oh, it's a numbers game. So you got to do more mystery method techniques and just mass approach. No, there's no numbers game. My students are getting laid in 1 to 6 approaches. They're getting all the way here, insta-date, pulling her home, do all that shit in 1 to 6 approaches every single time they go out. They practice the drills. It only takes 1 to 6 approaches. So there is no numbers game. If they're better, they can do it in 1 or 2 approaches. My Pakistani mentor can do it in 3 approaches. And then he gets a 9 out of 10. 3 of them, 2 rejections, 1 of them is like 9 out of 10 over and over. So you'll be on the line at some point, right? You'd be off the line at other points. So there's no need for a rigid structure. That debunks it. Just like sales, right? It's like Jordan Belfort, right? You got to be on the line for the straight line persuasion system. When they start talking about the hunting trip or something, then you got to switch back to be on the line. Therefore, you start getting her and continue to, like sales, you got to continue the conversation. Like every single sales is the same because I'm Jordan Belfort. He talks like he's plugging his nose or something. He talks like this or something, right? With that Italian accent. And he's very expressive and stuff. But that's the thing. When you maneuver her back home, she's cornered and she gives her sexual objections because you sexualize it. Makes sense? You have really heavy haymaker. She throws back sexual objections, anything she could. You deal with the sexual objections with your combo, your looping. Then she has a second sexual objection. You deal with that. And then she opens her legs. She throws in the towel. You win, you get that lay, metaphorically speaking. You don't use romantic flirts, being in the husband material, being a boyfriend, girlfriend frame. You don't just do that. Does that make sense? So that doesn't work. It doesn't work. Then you have to use alcohol. You got to cheat. Your gloves, you have to put something inside it to win the boxing match using alcohol, just to heavy bedroom escalation. When the person is hurt and then you throw more combos, that's what they teach for romantic sexual flirting and all this stuff. So a lot of Indians get stuck. They're like, oh, I hooked the set because I went creative and artistic. When they pull women home, they don't use the alcohol in the boot camp, right, for the crutches. Then they never could get laid. They're wondering, why are they stuck? Well, the Indians were brainwashed because they're like, oh, they're Indian. Like, and the other coach is Indian, therefore they should listen to them. But the other coaches that are Indian are telling you are not enough, right? You don't assimilate, which is bullshit. You got to be husband material, whitewashing. There's another student, I think he proposed to his white girlfriend. I got to text him. Let me text him, okay? I have a London Indian student who's whitewashed. He did all this stuff, whitewash tonality. He's the first one to buy elite tonality mastery. I wonder if he actually like proposed, right? Let me look up his name. Hey, I'm just curious. Did you propose to your white girlfriend yet? I'm just gonna text him and see how he responds. He's in London, so we don't know the time period he's gonna respond or not. So, all right, let's continue. As I was saying, that every conversation is different. Like a boxing match, everyone's unique. In my system, you adapt to the moment. That's why Mayweather got 50-0. 50 wins, 0 losses. I just hope he doesn't lose the recent one, right? He's gonna fight Manny Pacquiao if he's not fighting like the IRS, right? It's the guy's money problems. Okay. Let me check another student. ABCs of attraction student. Let me look. What is her fitness, please? One question. What is your fitness, please? You have a fast metabolism. Okay. I understand because I used to rise. Well, I appreciate. Well, it took a long time. I'm just curious. A lot of students. No, you did not like use the proper hybrid opener. This one fails for your infield. Please listen to the video that you pinned above, right? As your external memory. You done it correctly yesterday night. Why are you switching it up? Because you went right into like an adaptive opener, which is different from indirect, and then you didn't use statements of empathy or calling out the elephant in the room or her internal objections. Okay. Yo, you better start listening to that video above. You didn't do your homework assignment. You've forgotten everything. You've probably forgotten to use your external brain, right? Which is the video that is pinned on top, right? That has all the instructions of all your mistakes. You better listen to that 3 more times, right? For your next approach. This one was absolute shit. I'm glad that you had like 2 minute, 30 second like fucking conversation. I'm not impressed. Remember, indirect to transition to adaptive opener to statements of empathy and calling out the elephant in the room. Wrong fucking structure. Remember, if you lose this, right? We did have like a accountability at the end of today. If you don't do your homework and you don't do this correctly, right? Which is the transition, but I want to see that hybrid opener corrected. Then you're stuck. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I have this ABCs of attraction student. He's coming back. He got 2 white girls in the United States. And one of the years he had no memory. His hippocampus shrunk. And then all of a sudden, when he came back, right, he did not have that video pinned to the very top. He did not have the video pinned to the top. So therefore, I made him watch the video like 6 times. He has to watch it 6 times before he does his homework assignment for drills. And every time he goes out there for approaching, he has to listen to it 3 times. I think he forgot to do that. He has no memory. We're talking about like completely wiped out cortisol memory. His hair is lost. So he has 2 traits of the 4. And before I was about to kick him out, I'd punch a hole in the fucking wall upwards when I was sleeping, right? There's such a big dent in there. And I threw the phone across the room dealing with him. You can see if he has no memory, he's just going to keep. You got to remind him to use the fucking video. He has no memory. But my Indian students said, do not kick him out because when the Indian student started, he was exactly the same. For the first 3 months, he was like a zombie, no memory. It's only until we use that video on top to be the external memory. I hope that makes sense. Then I said, you can stay. And then when he finally did the drills properly with the video on top, then he was able to actually finish the homework and I let him stay. Yesterday, I decided to let him stay in the program. So we have a cure now, but he has to apply the protocols. But yeah, before for ABCs of attraction, he has 0 lays for night game. When he started using Elite 30 and he mixed it together, then he was able to get 10 lays. Like fucking ABC stuff did not work for him. My stuff worked. So yeah, you see the point. It's powerful. So now he's going back to Elite 30. So he's working on day number 5 now. Transitions. But anyways, instead of forcing, right, everything into an old mystery method formula, then that's why you're stuck. So that's all I have for this post, right? I don't have anything to pitch here. I don't. How long has this video been? It's almost 2 hours. I don't have anything to pitch you. All I can say is that what are the updates? He's joined the Elite Access, right? And he has accountability, like bet every single, because he's unteachable case now, no memory. Every single time he doesn't like do the homework assignment, at the end of the week, he has to pay me extra to deal with this fucking shit with no memory, cortisol issues. I'm not saying other people need to do that, but it forces him to actually approach and it forces him to be accountable. So, but this is what you can do. Join Elite 30 if you cannot afford Elite Bundle Resurrections. Also for Canadians, just negotiate with me. If you give me a good price, you name it, maybe I can offer it. Americans, nothing like that. But for Americans, if you can like approach for 2 weeks in a row for Elite 30, then you can record it and put it on Google Drive for your practice in the mirror and for your practice out there, right? Like this guy's sending me infields, right? If you can do that and just demonstrate that you actually did it, I would like if you buy Elite Bundle Resurrections Part 2 or 3 in the future, I'll give you 3 extra months because I know you can get laid. I might get a few more late testimonials by those 3 extra months. Make sense? So he's writing, yes, sir. Okay, that's good. Right? It's really easy to forget the protocols when you have no memory. You might have forgotten to use that video yesterday. But that video is your lifeline. That is pinned. Right? The only reason why you can pass any of the homework assignments for 5 days, or at least for the recent days, right? It's because of that video. And you can see what happens when you forget to go through it before the approach, right? You forgot your memory. So therefore, you cannot adapt because you have no memory. It's memory, compression, and adaptation. Hello, sir. Pompadour is slick. 2000 as 2016. 2016 or 2026. Because 2016 is the first year I was online, right? Teaching day game. That's when I stopped teaching boot camps. Well, I mean, I still teach boot camps, but how many times are you supposed to use the video before every approach? I want to test you. But yeah, I mean, he recently joined, so I have to get him late. He really has no memory. He forgot to use the protocols. Imagine the memory so fucking bad, right? Because he has been picked on before at work. That he has so much cortisol because he's so slow, right? And has no memory. He got picked on by coworkers. He wiped out his memory. His hippocampus has shrunk for this guy, former ABCs of attraction student, because he's been picked on. It shrunk so much he doesn't remember anything after 10 minutes. He's one of the worst cases. It's almost like an Alzheimer's patient or somebody that does not have a short-term memory. So to move the short-term memory to long-term memory is memory, compression, and adaptation. And he forgot to go through the memory, his external memory, packed into the video. So he just went out there and started approaching like a zombie. A zombie cannot think. Therefore, you need external memory. That is correct. How many times do you have to watch that video before you practice the homework assignment at home for the drills? Let's see if he can actually remember. So he got the correct answer. He has to watch it 3 times. My Indian student, he watches it 20 times. My Indian student with 4 lays, he has 0 memory. Does that make sense? There's 0 memory, but he watches it 20 times in a row. This guy watch it 3 times because he has severe ADHD. So Mr. D, is there one level above severe ADHD? I know you have severe ADHD, right? But this guy has like a 1 level above. Like he is so ADHD, right? It's unbelievable, even more than severe. So, hello, coworkers suck, right? I'm glad I have none. That's good, right? That's good. Do you remember when you were working with like people that were Filipinos or something? They kept backstabbing you. You know that wasn't good. But not anymore, right? But now that you have no coworkers, you're still making some money. That's good. But there are 4 traits of cortisol stress, right? Um, double chin, losing your hair. I'm not sure if I'm losing my hair because I was dealing with this student. He doesn't have a memory for the first 4 days. I punch a fucking hole in the wall. I didn't punch a hole through it because I'm punching upwards when I was sleeping. I threw my phone across the room. I nearly broke it when I was teaching this guy. I was just about to kick him out. But he went through that video on top. And yesterday he was like, congratulations, you passed. You went through the video like 6 times, right? And then you went out there and used it like 3 times. But he fucking forgot. That's how bad his memory is. He forgot the video even existed. You know, it would have been more efficient if you actually went through the video 6 times at home first. And then you did a homework assignment, you passed it, and you went out there, use it 3 times before every approach. Statistically speaking, your odds of success will be higher than just trying to go through the video with all your mistakes 3 times out there. But of course, you will forget. But maybe next time, start with the homework assignment. All right, if he doesn't pass, then, I get some money out of it. That's the only reason why I'll take him on as a student in an unteachable case. If he doesn't do his homework, he'll pay. He has a wager every single week. If he doesn't do it, he fucks up any of the week, doesn't follow instructions, he'll just send the money to me as accountability. So most students do not do that, right? But the really, really unteachable ones will do that. There's no other choice. Because they're so ADHD, they're not going to approach. They can't even focus. They can't even remember anything. But yeah, I mean, this guy's gotten 2 day game lays and 10 night game lays. 0 from ABCs of attraction. He was a former student. So yeah, I have nothing else to pitch you except just get Elite 30. Elite Bundle Resurrections may be too expensive. Does that make sense? Might be too expensive for some of you. So, I mean, stop using the mystery method in 2026 for day game. That's the most important thing. Just stop using it. It's just a waste of time. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Any other final questions before I go? I have not eaten dinner. I skipped it today. I'm glad there's 5 people here. But basically, for the people that missed it, I'm just saying the reason why mystery method does not work is because this is the day game interaction. This is the early game. Open to insta-date, right? To really win the game, you need to have the 45-degree body language. It's like a boxing match. Just a recap. It goes upwards gradually. You don't want to just spike the emotions like mystery method. See that? What goes up goes down. When you look at the nail for all the volume, is very little. Does that make sense, guys? For the ones who are here. And then all of a sudden, the reason why it's spiking like that, because mystery method is open, attract, comfort, seduce, right? After a few dates, and then close, right? Because it's so rigid and structured. My system is keep her on the line, right? If you go direct here, you're off the line. You validate, you push pull, you're off the line. Yeah, get her back on the line by teasing. And when she talks more on the line, when the social skills flow drill, you must flirt because the line will turn blue, right? You got to turn it back to red. So it's seduction or it's platonic. And then you keep moving forward and your body language will keep growing up. And also your social skills flow drill is what moves it left to right. And how smooth it moves left to right is how much your emotional control is for your whitewash tonality to be in her tribe. Then you can match her rhythm and beat the opponent faster, metaphorically speaking. That's easier to start instigating her, go to more rounds, right? Does that make sense in boxing? And at the very end, when she's finally like about to lose and she's fighting back in the corner, that's when you sexualize it to the maximum. She tries to defend against that. You loop all the sexual objections, and then once she doesn't have any, she throws in the towel. Then you get laid. Metaphorically speaking, you don't use the numbers game, right? Only getting women or boxing matches with women that goes all the way through that are 3 out of 10 in looks by sexualizing it nonstop, or try and use DHV stories or push pulls or romantic flirts. You don't do that shit, or you don't use alcohol to get to the end point. And to deal with her objections, use alcohol so she can't think properly. And then you try to escalate hard. It should be called grape. It technically is illegal, but they teach you that in the boot camps. That's why your day game products don't work. They're like, oh, we're using inner coaching or some bullshit. There's no more day game lay testimonials, no more boot camp documentaries, all bullshit. Because they're in a tariff era when the people, when they're fighting, they're moving super fast, they're anxious. It's just an easy target for women to knock you out. That's why you get more rejections. I think that's a good metaphor to explain that. Actually, this metaphor, this boxing metaphor, 100% beats the mystery method and describes why it fails. Because mystery method, direct game, haymaker, the nothing but right crosses, like push pull, romantic flirts, sexualizing it, DHV stories. This, imagine you're in a boxing match. You open, haymaker, 5 right crosses, and then you got like 20 jabs for the date. And sometimes right cross, we should not be right crossing during a date. And it's all platonic as shit. And then you have to go for multiple dates if she has lower SMV. If she has higher SMV, she flakes on you. You lose the boxing match in like the 6th round. Does that make sense? But my method, you try to close her same day late on the 1 to 6 approaches every day because you practice drills like this ABCs of attraction students. Okay. All right. Your strategy right now is to really listen to that. Do you know the other Indian guy who says not to kick you out, right? Last time. You might have not remembered, but he says the first 3 months he's forgotten everything. But you know how many times does he go through that video up there calling out his mistakes? You saw his video, right? He goes through it 20 fucking times every single approach. You only go through it 3 times because I don't think you could do it because severe ADHD, right? But if you go through it 5 times or something, you might remember some of this stuff. But because you don't have it fast forward, right? On Signal, there's no fast forward button. You have to watch it like that many times. It's going to take too long. Maybe you should watch it 4 times or 5 times and then making the next approach because you don't have a memory. You don't remember the hybrid opener. If you continue doing what you're doing, you might lose today's bet, right? And I want you to win. For the first 4 days, you've been winning. Don't lose this one. You got until 12, right? You know. But I will listen to it 4 times before every approach and try to remember the steps. Excuse me, real quick. I have a question. I was looking for the nearest CVS. Do you know where I can find it? Transition. Oh, by the way, I just noticed something about you. She's like, what? I just noticed your X plus Y. Are you Z? Right? Z could be like what? Her hobbies, her occupation, or her ethnicity. Right? If it's ethnicity, I noticed that you have red hair and you have freckles. Are you Irish? Hey, I know this is random, right? Statements of empathy. It's like a weapon disarming. But she's like, why is this Asian guy approaching? I had a good day at work, so I feel like being more talkative. That's why I asked you this question. How is your day going? You get it? You got to deal with the objections. 1, 2, 3, 4. Transition. High notes, right? Don't forget that shit. Come on now, get that into you. But today's the transition, right? For day 5 for Elite 30. Gotta have a higher note. Oh, by the way, I just noticed something about you. All the same note, right? It doesn't matter if it sounds stupid. It works last time, right? Because last time it worked for you. Focus on it. So, but yeah, wish him luck, right? By end of today. if he actually does everything miraculously last minute, he's a real pain in the ass to teach. That's why I have a bet with him. Otherwise, he won't do it. I almost have to stay awake until midnight because he does everything last minute. Severe ADHD. But I'm gonna get him laid. When I get him laid, he's gonna call ABCs of attraction again for his lay testimonial. He has to earn his way up there. And that's why it's important to have memory compression up and adaptation. So he's compressing it, but if he doesn't actually remember, he cannot adapt. Memory is the most important thing. That's why, Mr. D, you struggle a little bit. You cannot remember the steps because you did not compress it and you did not adapt. But you still got 25 dates, lots of white girls, right? One poll. But you saw what the other guy's doing, right? That's what you need to do. So that's the hint. That's what you guys need to do. Okay, I'm gonna eat dinner soon. If you guys have any final questions, right? I'm gonna cook some chicken tenders or something. I do have some meat in the fridge that is like organic farm, but I haven't defrosted that yet. So I'm just gonna grab that Costco chicken tenders and then just use the air fryer and then crisp it up and eat some fries or something like that. Is there any final questions? If there's no final questions, right? And once it hits like, if there's no more final questions, right? In like 1 minute, type it quickly. I will go and then we'll go back on YouTube live soon. I know I missed a little bit. I benchoed it a little bit or banchoed. That's how you pronounce it. Banchoed. I just call it benchoding. That's how I was kind of spell it. But it's actually called banchoed. Kind of like mama cho, right? It's like motherfucker. Bancho is sister fucker. You know? But yeah, that's just Hindi. So okay, the other guy did not respond yet. Hey, I'm just curious. Did you propose to your white girlfriend yet? The one he got from Elite Bundle Resurrections. He bought each piece separately. He's the first one to buy Elite Tonality Mastery. But he actually went through Elite 30 in the airport just to practice because he usually has to fly around a lot. And then he used Elite Access. He barely showed up and did his homework for that Indian student. That's why it took longer. He was super ADHD and he did not use it very often. But then when he bought Elite Tonality Mastery, he had a perfect memory. He has a photographic memory. So memory compression, he did not compress it, but he still adapted because he has a photographic memory. So he still made the adaptation. Because he did that, he got a white girlfriend in London, an Indian guy, and he's going to propose to her. That's why I asked him, is he going to propose to his Indian, not Indian, but this Indian guy's going to propose to a white girlfriend. And that's a crazy thing because his family is like, I was like, what do you think about, when I asked him about his family, what do you think about him getting a white girlfriend and also proposing to her? The Indian family is so happy about that because they think that white girls have a higher status. You know, and I said to him that your future kids, right, are going to be half Indian and half white. They might not even have dark skin. They might be actually like fair skinned and they might even have like different eye colors. They may not even look Indian. Does that make sense? And he's like, wow, that's cool. But yeah, so you see a lot of student getting a lot of good results lately. And if he's proposed, he'll send me the pictures later on from London. I told him to take some pictures from a friend. I'll post it on my blog. See, my Indian students are getting good results. One guy from Canada, London, and somewhere else. So if that's the case, so let's see what he writes. Oh yeah, we're also switching over to Signal right now. A lot of students, even though if you knew me from WhatsApp, if you become a student, we're going to switch over to Signal. Signal is more secure. They're encrypted, but there's no metadata, right? It's going to be very strict in the future, you know, as certain countries. Communist countries are going to be very strict. So, and also, we're not going to use Google Drive anymore. I don't trust them. We're going to use like a different drive, an encrypted drive, right? Encrypted email. So for all future students, just to let you guys know, you'll be switching the ecosystem. And for this phone, right? My Z Flip 5. I'm probably gonna get a different phone, right? I'm gonna specialize phone, right? That is like impossible to hack. So I'll be teaching completely from that one, off the grid. But until that happens, I didn't want to spend the money, right? There was a big sale, Prime sale, and stuff like that. I'll be getting somebody else to get me the phone, so I'm not in the surveillance camera. But yeah, you got to adapt these days. I know a lot about internet security. I've studied a lot recently, but we're gonna switch that up. We're not WhatsApp, whatever. No, we're gonna do it on Signal. Signal is clearer. Signal is better. So, but yes. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. These are the new updates. We're gonna switch over to training, and maybe for other people that are training with me, all of you, you're all gonna be using Signal. All my students right now are using Signal. So nobody's here. I'm just gonna stop. Thank you for giving a thumbs up and all that stuff. We're gonna make some adaptations to training. You can see with the new training that guy goes through that video like 3 times before every approach, but he has to do it like fucking 6 times for his homework assignment practice. But yeah. Anyways, we'll see you next video. I know I should have been here earlier, right? It's just dealing with this student. I was so stressed out that I couldn't even show up. But we're done with this topic. So thank you for being here. All right. Ending it now. So we keep it shorter, then more people can watch more videos.